Hello, I'm Elgato and welcome back to episode 313 of my Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. This is the Let's Play where I've been playing through the various updates that have come out for Minecraft on the console, building stuff, killing stuff, and of course, destroying stuff. I have the biggest destruction project that I'm currently working on over here. It's the Destroyed Desert, and although I'd love to work on that, I figured let's take a break from the destroying for a week. Or let's not take a break from destroying, but let's take a week from just the kind of stuff where it's like, this is a huge project, because I finished the Wooden Mansion. I'm really happy of, finishing destroying the Wooden Mansion. That's a really great thing, but I figured rather than just destroying today like I've been doing for the past few weeks, why not prove that destruction has a purpose and be destructive to be constructive? Yeah, that's like, you like that, don't you? Well, I like that, I do. But yeah, basically I'm going to be destructive, be constructive today by finally getting around to destroying the rest of this forest I have here. If you're curious as to why I want to destroy this whole forest, one, because I like destroying everything, as it so turns out, and two, because honestly, there's a bunch of trees on this grass, but I figured this would look way better if it was just, the ground itself, because this is even though this generated as a forest first of all, it then switched over to a jungle biome, so it has this beautiful green grass. Like, everyone looks at this grass and they say, yeah, I really like that, so I can. So rather than just looking at the grass and saying, well, that could be nice, why don't we actually turn this into a full, just nice green grass biome by finally getting rid of the rest of the trees, since I have a spare axe anyway from my Wooden Mansion visit, so I figured that's what we're going to be doing today. Hopefully you'll do enjoy it. So we're going to be chopping down a bunch of trees and then using all of the oak wood we get. I think only oak wood will work, and we're going to be using it to make the giant sky rail, because the sky rail is kind of like, it just goes halfway to nowhere and then doesn't do anything, and that's always annoyed me, so I figured let's at least make it connect somewhere, so if I want to walk to, say, the castle, I should be able to do that, and that's what I'm going to be doing, kind of today, making it be like a diagonal rail system. Again, you'll see what I mean as we get there, but first of all, I want to just get rid of the last of these trees. They really get on my nerves, the fact that, like, because when you have a full forest, you can look at it and be like, ooh, that's a foresty region, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? And when you have like half a forest, it just kind of gets uglier. I feel like there's not diminishing returns, but sort of diminishing returns. Like, the more forest you have, the less ugly it looks. So the more forest you destroy, the more you need to destroy the rest. Like, if you destroy 80% of a forest, it's not quite so impressive. Think about, like, I don't know, the Amazon rainforest, right? The biggest forest in the world, I'm pretty certain, like the biggest collection of trees and stuff. It's technically a rainforest, but imagine that. And now imagine that, but like every 4 in every 5 trees are removed, and it just looks like a bunch of weird trees by themselves. It's kind of like how this maybe isn't something when you shave, when you shave, like, and you shave a little bit, like half of it, you really have to shave the rest. Like, you kind of, or if you shave one eyebrow, for instance, like, no one ever gets rid of one eyebrow, because once you go for one eyebrow, you're kind of committed to taking the second one off. It's the same with, like, when you get a haircut and you're like, you shave off half, you have to go with the other half, because there's something about that when it comes to trees that matches, apparently, when you shave yourself or whatever. So yeah, there you go. That's what you have to get done, and that's what we're doing today. We're just going to destroy the last of this, I guess, forest, even though it's not a real forest, just because then my life gets a bit easier. I'll have a bunch of birch wood left over, which I don't know what to do with, honestly, but we'll work out something, and then I'm going to have a bunch of oak wood, which I do need for my sky rail. So boom, that's what we're doing today. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Let's get straight into talking about exactly what I've been up to this past week, because, I actually didn't talk about this last week. Like, I got so distracted by, like, ender dragon killing that I never actually got around to mentioning what I was up to in the past week. And basically, the long story short is that if you want to know what I was up to with the Bulgaria and the Germany thing, I mentioned it in my really long, it's kind of like a Let's Play live stream, the Wooden Mansion destruction, because I went ahead and just, like, destroyed that on a live stream. It was a lot of fun. Would recommend watching that. But if you're curious as to what I've been up to this week, well, sadly, I'm recording this a little bit in advance, because I'm going to Munich in Germany, which is in Bavaria, which is, like, it's the part of Germany that everyone thinks of when you think of Germany. Like, it's really German. Like, they have, like, beer festivals, and they wear those funny, like, German clothes. You know the ones I'm talking about. Like lederhosen, and I forget what the other ones are called. But basically, everyone looks a little bit crazy and funny, and I mean, crazy is probably not a fair way to describe it, but crazy, that's what it is. So yeah, that's how they look there, and I'm going there, and I'm really excited because I don't know, like, I feel like there's lots of places in the world that are, like, really stereotypically something, and it's always exciting to see just how much of that stereotype is real. Because, like, 60% of the stereotypes about the US aren't real when I went there, but, like, every now and then one is, and I'm like, whoa, this is a real thing, and it's good stuff. So yeah, there you go. Same thing about the UK, I'd say. Like, when people, like, fantasize about the UK, they're like, they come up with a bunch of things that aren't real, and then they'll have one thing that's like, wow, really? That's, like, surprising to you? It's funny though, like, okay, so let's talk about visiting the UK, shall we? Because at some point, some of you are gonna do it at some point, because guess what? The world's getting smaller. I mean, okay, the phrase, like, small world, or, like, the world's getting smaller, is really annoying to me because, I mean, it's not getting smaller, we're just getting faster. But I guess it has the same effect. So the world's getting smaller, which isn't true, but you get the point. Like, we are able to traverse the world better than we could before. So, and for cheaper prices, because that's like the big thing in flying at the moment, like it's getting cheaper every year. So flying's getting cheaper, and that's a good thing, right? And, you know, at some point, you might want to come to the UK, because it's going to be really cheap. No matter where you are in the world, I'm pretty sure you can find a flight to London. I think that's, like, it's a crazy fact. I looked it up on stream one day, of like, oh yeah, so if you want to fly into London Heathrow, which is just one of the 6 London airports, I think they connect to like 153 countries. It's absurd like that. So yeah, you can fly to 153 countries just from one airport, probably more from the rest, which means you can probably go to London and it's probably going to get cheaper. Boom, that's my point. And if you do come to London, the one thing that like everyone who's been here from abroad says is like, Big Ben's not as big as I figured. Like, apparently in movies they shoot it in a really weird way, because it's just like, it's the size of a normal tower. Everyone's picturing like a giant skyscraper, and then they get here and it's like, oh, that's just like a clock tower. Actually, I had some Mormons come to my door. This was really surprising because, like, again, in the UK we don't really have Mormons because it's obviously an American religion. It's a very American religion too. It's like, you know, if you know about it, you know it's an American religion. So it's a super American religion, and some of them, like some missionaries, I guess they'd be called, came over, and they came to my door, and they were just really nice talking about their country and stuff. And one of the things they said, by the way, you know, just to go on a side tangent there, they said they'd come back and visit me, and I was really hoping they wouldn't. And like, but I was like, oh yeah, next week will be good. I'll be there. And then they didn't. And now part of me is like, oh, I was hoping they'd come back and I could have another strange conversation about their whole thing. Because they're at least like, they're pretty open about just talking about, well, I mean, it's a little bit strange, but that's just who we are. We get to go to London for it. And I always thought that was kind of cool, right? Like, anything where you can be open about what you're doing is better than something where you're not being open, right? Like, you know, some YouTubers really like the idea of like, you know, let's pretend that like this is really the most exciting thing I've ever done. Like, woo, let's chop down some wood. That's Frosty the Panda voice right there. But I always figured like it's way better when you can just like kind of talk about, when you can kind of be honest that like, yes, I'm making a YouTube video right now. I woke up to make this thing. I've been pretty excited actually. Like, I like calling Let's Plays because it's an opportunity for me to like, I mentally call it flowing, like just the idea of like, I'm just going to talk and then talk a little bit and then talk a little bit. And it's like, because it's like monologuing, you know, just with myself. It means that I can like, I know I sometimes realize stuff as I'm talking about it. Like, you know, here's something I was thinking about very briefly. So the idea of like radiation, right? Radiation is something that's a very real danger. When you're anywhere near radiation, it will do bad stuff to you. But you can't see radiation, and you can only feel extreme radiation. Like, when you're in a plane, for instance, I know I'm just scaring people, but if you do decide to fly to London and it's very cheap, then a fun fact you probably don't know about flying, and that I didn't know about flying till I went to Chernobyl, was that, Chernobyl maybe, was that there's actually just radiation, background radiation, at all times when you're flying. Also, like, bananas have a little bit of radiation in them. There's a fun fact for you. Oh, the ocelots are going after the parrots, because it's a jungle. This happens, you see. But the parrot's flying, so there's nothing they can do about it, besides they're trying to jump for it or something. Oh no, they're going for the chicken, okay. That's cute. They're going to get it eventually, and it's going to be sad. But it's funny to watch them try. Because, like, they just don't know that they can't make that jump. That's cute, that's cute. Okay, so let's go back to string and talk about radiation. So yeah, the thing about it's dangerous, watch out for it. If you're ever somewhere that's radiated, or like there's a microwave door open while it's microwaving, you don't actually want radiation. You might think like it's a cool thing, but it's not. Pro tip, radiation is not cool. And I know that sounds really obvious to most of you, but it's one of those things where in my head, I can still barely believe in radiation. Like, again, you know, you see some horrors from it, and you're like, oh yeah, I guess, well, I mean, logically, this must be real. But the truth is like, even though there is like all this proof of it, a part of me goes back to the whole like, it's really hard to believe that oxygen's real, right? Or that air is real, because you can't see it. And it's ridiculous that like, even as like a 22-year-old I am now, even like as an adult, it's just like, well, I mean, but what if it isn't real? What if we just believe it is? Because a fact you might not have known, I learned this in history, but maybe it's not wide knowledge, but until maybe like it was like 100 years ago, where we finally discovered that germs were a thing. Before that, we kind of just believed that, we believed a lot of weird things, like that maggots just spontaneously created from nowhere in a wound. Like, if you had an open wound, you'd get maggots in it, not because maggots come from somewhere, they just came from nowhere. And like, there's a lot of weird stuff we did, like leeches, you know, on people. The reason we did that is because there was like 4 fluids in your body, and if you lose a lot of one, they figured you had to lose a lot of another one. So they drain blood from your body if you lost too much. Like it was crazy science, basically, is my point of all of this. And we did a bunch of this stuff because, like, oh yeah, well, we can't see it, so we don't know. And even now, like, we've seen some of it with my microscopes, but we don't know what that germ's thinking. I mean, germs probably don't think. In fact, germs don't think. I think we can say pretty scientifically. But, like, on some level, every animal is thinking, right? Like, even when you're, like, in the least cognitive aware state, and you're really just kind of working on autopilot, you still have thoughts running through your mind, like, get food, do this. Like, you have goals and actions and stuff, right? It's actually really weird, like, because I'm sure everyone must get this at some point. But the moments where you are, like, so, yeah, we got, like, a bunch of wood. The moments where you're, like, least able to think, and you're just thinking, like, get thing done, be done with it. There's a bunch of examples like this. I'm sure you will have one. Those are the moments where, like, I guess we know what it's like to just be an animal. When a thing is just happening, and we're just doing the thing without any real thought about what's going on. And, oh, let's try and fly into this tree, because then I can destroy it from the top. Oh, no, I can't. I'm so bad at this. Everyone always tells me to crouch, but that doesn't actually work. Like, pro tip, by the way, you can't actually just crouch onto a tree. So yeah, we got a few more trees to destroy, I think. I think, like, the ones beyond the ridge we don't have to care about. It's the ones that aren't beyond the ridge that we should probably care more about. So we'll do that, and then we can work on our little sky pathway. It'll be great fun. It'll be great fun. So, yeah, basically, I still have problems believing things I can't see, which is wacky, but it's good when it comes to stuff like games, because it's the same sort of thing. Okay, so, you know how I have this thing where I'm like, I have to correct people when they're wrong? Like, for instance, someone in last week's comments, so the comments of last week's Let's Play, said something like, Toy Cat, you know you can just respawn the Ender Dragon? And it's like, no, you need to know. You need to know that you are mistaken, sir. And so if you are that one person who commented, then I need to let you know right now that, fun fact, you know, you can't just do that if you want to get XP, because you only get 50 XP the second time you kill it, as opposed to, or it might be 250, but you don't get 10,000 or whatever, so it's not as many levels, so you want to have all the levels. Boom, there you go, now you know. So, yeah, basically, that's a thing that you want to keep in mind. Yeah, I really like correcting people, and, oh, also, another thing from the comments, actually, is the Jello bathtub thing, or jelly, because a lot of Americans call it Jello. So I saw a few comments that were like, Toy Cat, I did have that idea. And I always thought that was the coolest stuff. Like, there's multiple people out there. It's not just me. And yeah, there you go. Now we know. Now we're 100% aware. And isn't that just wonderful? So, yeah, I know, like, it's the sort of thing where, like, every now and then I have a thought and I'm like, is this something everyone thinks? Because there are so many things in the world where even though we think them a lot, no one ever says that they're thinking them. Like, you have no idea. You kind of just have to guess of what other people are thinking. And although that's great fun sometimes, it creates issues some other times. So, yeah, basically, long story short, TLDR, is that I feel like there's a lot of stuff like that in the world. And I feel, I'm glad that the jelly, I'm glad the jelly bathtub is an idea someone else has had. If you didn't watch last week's episode, it's the idea of filling a bathtub with jelly. And I always want to do it, but I know I'll probably ruin my bathtub. And imagine getting a plumber around your house and having to say, like, so what's the issue here? And you're like, well, I filled the bath with jelly and then tried to put it down the plug hole. And now the plumbing in my house is broken. Like, not only do you have to, like, deal with, like, the judgmental, but then someone's going to be like, what the, why would you even do that? And that's not one of my favorite things. Being judged, not on my top 10 list of things to do, sadly. So yeah, we got most of the forest destroyed here. I think we'll get these last two trees, like the ones on this ledge here, just because they're visible, and then we should be good. And then we'll get some of the, like, leftover apples. Because I don't need apples in the slightest in this world, but a part of me still really likes collecting them. Again, there's no good reason for me to enjoy collecting apples, but that doesn't stop me from doing it anyway. Because that's how life should be sometimes. So yeah, basically, back to what I was saying. So this last week, besides going to Munich, or it said like München, and I've always figured it's the weirdest, it's the worst idea even, that like cities have different names in their own languages. Because most cities sound awful in English anyway, right? Like, think about, at least in different languages. So if you think about, let me think of a really good example. If you think about Bucharest, or it's Bucharest, I think, actually, in Romania, that doesn't sound too amazing. But it's actually, it's like an entirely different wording in their own language. If you think about Vienna, Vienna sounds like a weird place. That's why we name a lot of stuff. Like, if you've ever had a Viennese well, or a Vienna well, they're named after Vienna. Fun fact. You probably did know that one, but now you know it even more. And basically, I think I'll leave this going there, by the way, and then just keep going forwards from it anyway. Because I don't want to go to the big cube. I kind of want to go to my big house. Like, it makes sense to have a big rail connection in the house. So I guess I'll do that, because then it links the world up a bit better. Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll do that now. So we're going to make all the wood planks in the world. Like, we're going to have an inordinate number of wood planks. And now we can do one of my favorite things, which is the very calming process of just left, right. Oh, okay, well, that's not correct in calming. But just left, right, etc. And we can just kind of backwards place. Well, we talk about how nice the world is from up here. I think it is. So yeah, it's interesting to me. I was thinking about this, but the Let's Play has really evolved over the years. So this is episode 313 now, right? But the purpose of the Let's Play has always stayed the same. But the kind of way it's been implemented has always changed. Like, it's always just been like, what do I want to talk about this week? Because it really is the fun series for me on my channel. In terms of, like, there are no expectations. It's just, hey guys, wanna come listen? Do you wanna come, like, you know, see me build a thing maybe? And yeah, over time, like, what I find interesting in Minecraft has changed. Over time, what I want to do in Minecraft has changed. And it's interesting that you can kind of see these changes in the form of the Let's Play. You can see the change in my life even. Like, the way I live my life now is so crazy different than when I first started. I now live by myself. And it's this crazy thing. Like, there's a lot of responsibilities living by myself. But I'm really, really happy that, like, I got this place from YouTube in a way. And I've always been grateful for that. I've always been really grateful for the idea that, like, you know, even though this is something, you know, I've had to work a lot on, it's also something that each of the subscribers who comes and sees and, you know, either likes the video, shares the video, whatever, it's kind of like made happen as well. So I've always thought that's a great little thing, and it's always been one of those things on my mind that, like, you know, at some point this will all change. I don't know when that point is. I don't know how it will all change, but it's going to change again, and it's weird to think about how things change in the future again. Like, how can I go anywhere from here? How can I go up from here? How can I go down from here? And sometimes you don't know the answer to questions, but you just got to be focusing on, like, a thing that you do enjoy. I think that's something every human has in common. We have, like, a goal we'd like to achieve. At least every happy human. If you're not happy, maybe a goal is important. But everyone has, like, a goal somewhere in their life they'd like to achieve. Whether that goal is, like, I'd really like to, you know, ask that girl out. Or whether, you know, you really want to live in a certain place or do a certain thing. Everyone has goals, and everyone has, like, ways to work towards them, I guess. And that's my point right here. Because of your help, I made a thing happen. Maybe you could use my help and try and make the thing happen for you. This is, like, the worst layer to happen at. Because now what do? I guess it has to go down some blocks, which is a big question mark as to how I'm going to make that happen. But that's fine. That's fine. So we'll stack up from, like, here. And we'll make it go down a bit. Yeah, that's what we'll have to do. So this is gonna hurt. That's fine. So this the lowest down this can really be is probably about here. So then this can be one block up and to the left. Can it? I'm not sure. How about I just kind of like, oh, Thorjay tweet. So yeah, that happens during these streams. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. Basically, okay, so we want to go to the right as well. But, like, slowly to the right. So here probably makes sense. So, like, left up, right up, left up. You know, this isn't making any sense at all. Okay, wait, no, I've got this now, So now this should just about line up, right? And we can remove the old stuff instead. See, we got progress going on here. But yeah, so that's something I kind of wanted to, like, throw out there. Like, if you think to yourself, like, you know what, this thing is impossible. I think everything is possible. But some things are just so hard that you can't even picture the pieces, let alone the giant puzzle. But maybe you should start trying to picture the pieces. Just picture one of the pieces. A really popular tip, because every now and then I get, like, into a big motivational video kick. One of the big tips I always spot is they'll always say something like, just do a tiny bit every day. That's all you gotta do. You just gotta do some amount towards whatever your goal is, and then it'll get closer to happening. Okay, we did it, by the way. So now we remove all the, like, leftover bits. Because those are just going to be ugly. And I don't think we want those. Oh, God, oh, thank God I have the Elytra. And then we kind of, like, make this flatten into here. Except that's not correct, is it? Yeah, no, this has to... Oh god, okay, there's a zombie following me, and a skeleton trying to kill me. Let's just jump all the way up this thing. Break this little thing. And there we go, we're good. So we've actually now finished the basis of the sky rail. Like, there's a lot to go in terms of, like, you know, there's the bottom rail, there's actually putting rails in it. But we now have a pathway, at least. And there's something really cool about this sky pathway. Like, look at the visual effect you get. I really shouldn't walk across this thing backwards, it's very dangerous, but whatever. It's kind of fascinating. So yeah, anyway, with that said, motivational advice for the day. Always do something towards what you want. That's something I have to, like, retrain myself whenever I'm, like, focusing on something brand new. Like, if you want this thing to be done, you've got to do something towards it. And even if you do, like, a minute a day, then it at least starts the routine in your head that you have to do a minute a day. And some days you'll want to do 5 minutes, and then some days you want to do 10. Like, this comes up in fitness, this comes up in, like, weird business motivational stuff. And I think it's true for anything in your life. Like, do it for everything. Just segment your day so it's a good variety, and then focus on the part of the variety you want to have more of, and then maybe that's how life's a living. Maybe that's how you live a happy life. I don't know, but I do know that I'm running out of time for this episode because the sun is setting, and we'll watch it together, and we'll talk about how much I appreciate everyone who's been around this whole time, everyone who will be around in the future. I know someone just came to my door. There's this big September rush, or like September opposite for rush, where like at most Minecraft channels lose something like 40% of their viewership. And maybe that happens here. And for everyone who does decide to keep sticking around during the September craziness, thank you very much. I'm going to be doing some weird travel stuff you might see in the second channel. You might see some here too. Things are going to change a little bit, but it's all cool. And hopefully things change for you too, for the better. But the sun has set. I hope you'll enjoy this video. Like if you liked it, share if you really liked it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.